Welcome to today's webinar, Database Validation and Reporting Output using Certify. So we will start now. Great to see all here. I hope everyone is doing fine and safe at home with your family. I would like to thank each one of you for making time to participate in today's webinar. My name is Shravanti Dattapramanik. I'm working as a team lead at SWICE. And I'm really excited to be hosting this session today. As you know, the topic for today is database validation and reporting output using Certify. You all must be knowing that database validation is one of the important and challenging activity. So selecting the right candidate for performing it is crucial. And the good thing is that through Worksoft Certify, we can achieve this easily. Now, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Gautam Jha. Gautam is working as Senior Project Manager in SOICE. Gautam has 13 plus years of experience, out of which 11 plus years in automation using Worksoft Certify. His experience includes major IT projects with high complexity and risk, usually automating across functional areas and involving multiple technologies with very aggressive timelines, which may be mission critical or high profile. He has a huge experience in automating many complex applications and in using various Worksoft plugins like BPP, Execution Manager, Analyze, Capture, etc. He has also delivered various certified training and mentoring assignments in IBM, Accenture, McCormick, HCL, Verizon, to name a few. Last but not the least, he is also Worksoft certified automation professional in both SAP and HTML. Before I hand over the mic to Gautam, just want to let you all know a couple of things about today's webinar. First one is that we are recording today's webinar and it will be made available to you all in 2 to 3 days time. Next, we would love to hear from you during today's presentation. If you have any question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the Q&A section which is available at the bottom of your player. We will be answering your questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to your questions during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterwards. And last, we would like to encourage you to share the recorded webinar with your friends and colleagues once it is made available to you. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Gautam. Gautam, over to you.
Thank you, Sravanti, for this beautiful introduction. Hope I am audible, right? Okay, hello everyone. Myself Gautam Jha, and I welcome you all for taking time from your schedule to attend this webinar. I hope all of you are doing great and staying safe. So as Sravanti already discussed about the today's webinar topic, I just want to add that validation is always a very crucial aspect of testing, be it a manual or automation. And database validation is even more crucial because we do it in the underlying database and not in the application. So there is one question that why do we need to do the database validation at all when we can achieve the same using a traditional automation in the given application? So the answer is when we do cross application testing and we update some value, suppose in one application, and expect that value to appear in the second application. So there are multiple IDOCs that needs to be processed between one application to another application so that the value would appear in the next application. So in order to do that, there are times when it takes so many hours to process it. And from automation, we cannot wait beyond a certain time limit, right? So instead of waiting for the value to appear in the application, we can directly go to database and we can write a SQL query and we can validate it. At the same time, there are many projects where database validation is needed for auditing purpose, because the value which you are seeing in the application, that needs to be matching exactly with the database value. So in order to do that, so auditing purpose, we need database validation. So how do you do that? Okay. So there are 4 or 5 things here. The agenda for this webinar is basically, why do we need to do the database testing, database validation? What are the prerequisite? Means, do we need to make sure that some things needs to be in place before we start performing the validation using Certify? If the prerequisites are in place, then how do we need to implement it in our Certify processes, right? And when you implement it in Certify, you should also know the limitations, that we are going to do some database validation, but what are the limitations? What we can do and what we should not do. So those things are there. And then once you do the validation, suppose you run some query from your Certify processes into the given database and you got some value, you did the validation. Then what next? How do you report it? Suppose I run a query select star from the table and it gave me so many results. So how to report those results? Okay, so that is the one thing, reporting. And then the demo means, I will be showing you one small demo where we'll see how to do the prerequisites, how to implement it in certify, what are the limitations, and how to report it. So these are the things in the demo. Okay. So basically, why do we need to do the database testing? So database testing basically validates data in database for any needed qualitative change without loss, and the output can be used for any auditing purpose. So there are many times I personally have seen that I expect some status in the application as something and I don't see it there, because it took so much of time and my automation is getting failed there, because it expects something and it found something. But actually the value is there in the database, but in order to appear it in application, it is not there because some IDOC failed, or we need to reprocess the IDOC manually. That is taking time. Okay. Some background jobs are running, so that is not scheduled. So there are so many things. Okay. So for those kind of purposes, we can use the database testing. Workshop Certify, being a beautiful automation tool, allows to perform the database validation by triggering the SQL queries from the Certify client from where you actually work, right? And you store the query result into your Certify variable or in a record set. So if you have worked with Certify, you know that in Certify we have variables and record set, right? So whatever output you are getting from your query, so you have two ways to store it, either it in a Certify variable or it in a Certify record set. But the point here is that if your SQL query is returning you more than one row or one column, so you need to create your record set accordingly so that all the values fits in the right place in the record set. It saves a lot of time. Now just think in a different way. I need to validate something in the given application. It's a web application. In order to get into that place, I need to do certain navigation. I need to log in into there. I need to navigate to that page. Then I will validate. Just to get that particular place, it might take 1 minute, 2 minutes, right? But when you do it from the SQL query directly in the database, it takes no time. Okay. Because you don't need to navigate anything. You just need to run the trigger the query from your Certify, or you need to know how to attach a SQL query in your Certify process. Then the prerequisite. So access to database tables or views. So first of all, if you need to do any kind of database testing, then you need to have access. You should be having the access to the table. Now, suppose I'm working with SAP and I need to do some validation in the SAP table, right? So SAP table can be any database. It can be in any database. It can be in Oracle. It can be in DB2. It can be in SQL Server. It can be in Sybase. It can be anything, any RDBMS. You need to know which RDBMS it is. Now, in that RDBMS, there can be many databases, right? One can for SAP, one can be for some other application. So you need to know the database name. Now, in that database, there can be millions of tables, right? So you need to know exactly in which table you need to perform that query. Okay. And now in that table, you can have multiple columns, right? So for which column you are looking for the value. So that all you need to know. The thing is that how will you know if you are an SQL expert, still you don't have the knowledge about the underlying database, right? So you definitely would not be knowing how to write a query, although you know how to write SQL. So you don't, you are, but the thing is that you don't need to write the query here because as a part of requirement, you will be getting the query from your client, right? From your project, who is giving you the assignment, who is giving you the tasks to automate any processes. They will also give you the query. And now you just need to know how to attach that query in the Certify because they don't know how to attach the query in the Certify. And the way we write a query in the database, you cannot use the query in the same way in Certify. So you need to break the query. Okay, so that all you need to know means how to use that given query. It can be a simple SQL, it can be a complex SQL, it can be a nested SQL, it can be a stored procedure, it can be anything. So you just need to know how to use that query in Certify process. Okay. So first of all, you need to have access to database, tables, views, whatever. Second thing, this database table, okay, it will not be there in your system. So whenever you work with Certify, you install Certify client, right? And you have the access to Certify client, you have a user ID, you log in with your ID. But this is not the case with database. You don't have the access to the database. Database will not be there in your machine. It will be there in some remote machine. Okay, you don't have access to that machine. You even don't have the access to the database also. So what you will do, you will create a ODBC. Now, what is ODBC? As most of you must be knowing that it is an interface, right? Between, if I say in one word, it is an interface between the application and the database. So here your application is Certify and your database will be any database, right? So you will just create a ODBC connection. So what all you need to do, you need to know about the database. So suppose it is Oracle. So you need to install the Oracle driver in your machine. This is the prerequisite. Okay, this needs to be done before you start automating it. So this is the manual effort. So you need to install the ODBC driver in your underlying machine. If the database is SQL Server, then you need to install the SQL driver in your machine. If the database is IBM2, sorry, DB2, so you need to install the DB2 driver in your machine. And accordingly, whatever be the database, you need to install their driver in your machine from where you will run the process, from where you will create the automation. Once you install the driver, then you need to create the data source. So driver will have information about the database. It will not have the information about the user ID and all. So you will create a data source, and this data source you will give the database ID and all. So this database ID will be some test. So as you know, right, when you test anything and you don't have your personal IDs there, so we use some test IDs, right? Some generic ID to log in into the application, be it SAP or any other application. So similarly, here also there will be some generic test IDs will be created for the database, and we will be using that ID to access the database via the data source. Data source basically it is known as data DSN, data source name basically. So we'll come into that what is DSN and all. So this is basically the high level diagram if you see here. So here your application is there, that is your Certify client. This is the driver manager which you installed in your machine, and then you created the ODBC driver. You install the driver basically, and then you create the connections. So you will create the connection. There can be one connection, there can be multiple connection, and there can be the database. So you can use one data source connection to run many queries, or you can use multiple data source to run multiple queries. It is up to you. So thing is that we should avoid creating multiple data sources to avoid any conflict in future. So just create one data source because your database, your user ID is not going to change. Just create one data source and use that data source in your process to connect to the database. So this will just establish the connection between your Certify and your database. And then once you run the query, once you trigger the query from Certify, this data source will take your request to the database. Database will respond, and it will take the response from database to the Certify, and the Certify will store it in the record set or in a variable, how you have designed your processes. Okay. So these are the limitations here. So basically what? So first and foremost, as a tester, you are not supposed to change any value in the database. So if you're thinking, okay, there is a scenario where I expect the value to be processed and it is saying not processed, so let me run a update statement in the database and change the value. No, you are not supposed to do that. Certify will not allow you. So from Certify, you are supposed to run only the select statements, simple select statements. Okay, no insert, no update, no delete. So these are the limitations. You can say it's a read-only access basically. Okay, so how you can do it using via two ways basically. One, you can run it from the SQL queries. There are times when the DBA team on your project have created some stored procedures, okay, to get some result from the different tables, and they will give you the stored procedure. Okay, this is the table, this is the query we have created in a procedure. You need to run that, you will get this result. So you just need to run the stored procedure from your certify. You will get the result. Once the result are there in certify, then you can play with it. You can manipulate the result, you can manipulate the data, because that data is in certify now, it is not in database. So simple thing, it is a read-only access. You are not supposed to run any update, delete, or insert statement or alter statement from certify. Only select queries. Be it a simple select, be it a complex select, or it can be a nested select also. So limitations we discussed, we have only the read-only access. We cannot update or delete any values in the database. Okay. So now let me start the demo. So first I will go to this slide again, and we'll see the prerequisite. Okay, so as I said, the first prerequisite is basically to install the driver. Okay, and create the data source, creating the connection. So how to do that? You just type ODBC in your start button. You click on start button in your machine, in your Windows machine, and type ODBC. You will get this kind of window, ODBC. Okay, so here you need to create the data source, DSN. Basically DSN is known as data source. So there are three kinds of DSNs available: user DSN, system DSN, and file DSN, and all are visible once you open the data source window. Okay, so since there are three, so their usage is also different. So user DSN means, now suppose this machine, on this machine I logged in as my ID. Okay, and this is a means public computer. Okay, many people use this machine with their credential. Everybody is having their individual credential. So if I create any data source under user DSN, then it is me who will be using it all the time. Other people will not have access to my data source. Okay, simple. If you create it under system DSN, then whoever is having access of this machine can use it. And file DSN is basically you create a data source in a file, and that can be shared across the internet. So in internet, basically, we don't use user DSN and system DSN. It is file DSN which is used, because we need to share the data source for different other pages, because it is accessible from throughout the globe, right? So this is the data source. And then how to create? You come here, you just click on add. Then on that machine where you are creating, what all drivers you have installed, as I said that you need to install the corresponding driver for the database. So what all drivers you have installed, you can see their driver here. So if you see in my system, I have SQL server, native client, and all those things are there. Oracle, all those things are there. So if you don't have these things installed in your machine, so you will not be able to see those things, and eventually you will not be able to create the data source. So in our case, I am going to use SQL server. So we'll use SQL Server native client. When you say finish, then it will ask you to give some name. Okay, means name, it can be any name, the name by which the data source will be known. So like it is simple, like you create any process and you give the name to the process. So similarly, you create a data source and you will give the name, you will give the description, you will select the server, on which server this database is located, the server name. So let me open the existing data source. I can show you from here. So yeah, as you see, the name is certified DSN. Basically certified DSN, why? So that people know, okay, this data source is used in certify. This is the server name. This is my local desktop name, which I have given here. Okay, this is the database password. Okay, where I log in into the database, I need to give the password, like user ID and password. So this is the password. There are many databases which uses Windows authentication to log in. So if your database is structured in that way, then you need to select Windows authentication. Okay, from here. So you don't need to provide any credential to log in. The credential you use to log in into Windows, the same will be used to log in into database also. So here, as you see, we have not given any password, just created the connection with the username, and that's it. And the data source will be stored here. Okay. Once the data source is created, okay, then you need to use it in certify. So how you will use it in certify? Let me show you. So I have one small process here. Okay. Just think this process as any of your end-to-end processes which you have worked or which you have created. You can say simple OTC, order to cash, where you have multiple transactions used, and each and every transactions you are using some database validations. So how to do that? So first, if you see, I am having a concatenation here. So I'm creating a path. Okay. Path means at the end of the execution, all the query result, all the SQL queries which I will be running from this process will be stored in a path in a file, in a particular file format. Now this file format, I need to give which file I want. If you see, I have given D drive reporting SQL. So this is the file. If you see D drive reporting SQL, and this folder is basically blank. There is nothing. Okay. So I'm just preparing a path. After that, I am saying process name. So it will concatenate the process name here. Process name means it will take this process name. This process name is a system variable in Certify. You must be knowing that. It will take the process name. So what it will take business scenario name here. I might be running this process 10 times in a day. Okay. I want to see which is the latest result. I might be running this process tomorrow. I might be running this process day after. So how will I know which result or which report is the latest one? So I am using again one small concatenation to concatenate this business scenario name with the date timestamp, so that if I run 10 times, so 10 reports will be created with a different names. So one name will be common for the process name appended with the date timestamp. And I want it in XLS format, so I have given .xls. If I want txt, I can just give txt. If I want a doc file, I can give doc. After that, if you see the comment, prepare the SQL query. So now coming to the query part, how we can use the query in Certify. So first, just think this query. Okay, I'm having this query here. Select user ID from users where login name is equal to admin. So login name is basically the login which is used to log in into Certify. If you see admin, right? So admin is logged in into Certify. I want to see the user name of the user ID from user where login name is admin. Okay, so how to do that? Just see, this is the query which I am running from Certify. So if you see, this is my database, this is my SQL Server database. If I execute this query here, so it gives me the number. So what is this number? In Certify, each and every user are given a unique number, a numeric value. Okay, so I am giving this one. So I will run this query and it will return me the user ID. This user ID means this number it will return. Okay, so how I am doing that? I will be getting this user ID for the user who is currently logged in into Certify. So now just assume after me somebody else logged into Certify with their credential, so user ID will change. So in that case, what will happen? If you see this query here, so it is not the complete query, right? Select user ID from users means select this column from this table where login name is equal to. So I have not given any value. So what is the login name? Login name is username. And this username is a system variable. So if you see, this is a system variable. It gives you the information about the current user who is logged in into Certify. Okay, so this is basically a dynamic SQL query, you can say. It will prepare this query. After that, one more and what it will do, it will prepare the query and it will store in a variable called SQL query. So once you run this step, this variable will have a query like this: select user ID from users where login name is equal to admin. Okay, and the value, the query, this query will return some value also, right? This numeric value. So it will be stored in some other place which we will be seeing later. So after that, see another concatenation here. I am concatenating here. So one important thing you need to remember: when you are running any query from Certify, you cannot run a query like select star from table. Your query should have a where clause. Okay, now if you don't know the where clause, you can write where 1 equal to 1, but definitely there should be a where clause. Without a where clause, you cannot run a query. Okay, so if you need to run select star from table, so still you need to write select star from table where 1 equal to 1. Simple. Okay, otherwise Certify will not allow you to run the query. So here what I am doing, I am preparing a where clause. If you see, so where login name is equal to username. So here I prepared the entire query, and here I am preparing only the where clause. So why? Why I'm doing these two things? So now see, this is the step. When you need to run a query from Certify, you need to have a step with system ODBC data and database store. So this ODBC data is like one object in Certify where you will find only two actions. One is database store and one is verify. Means here you can perform only two things. First, either you can store any value from database into a Certify variable. Second, you already have a value, you want to validate that value in the database. Simple. Now suppose I already have this value, this one. I just need to validate whether this value exists in the database or not. So that is the what? Database store and database verify. So how you run here, how you attach the query here, if you see. Now select. So here everything is pre-built. You just need to write the keywords in the right places. So one query is basically made up of so many things, right? Select is a keyword here. This is your column which you are selecting. From is a keyword here. This is a table which you need to give. Where is a keyword here? This is again the column, right? And this is the value which you will be giving. So a query is made up of so many things, some value and some keywords. So here again, select, you don't need to write. You just write user ID. Now see the value query. Select user ID. So this two is done. From users. From users. Okay. So the query is done till here. Where? So I have given the where clause which I prepared here. Okay. So now my query says select user ID from user where the clause which I prepared here. So it will run and the action says database store, right? So what all value it will get from the database will be stored in a certify variable in the bottom. Store result in username variable. Okay. Now this is the query. Now where to use the ODBC connections and all. So in the same place, if you go further below, you will find ODBC connection. Okay. So here I have given a variable called ODBC connection. It is the same connection which we created certified DSN. So I am passing it from the record set. So you can find the value certified DSN. Okay. Then ODBC username means the username which is basically used to log in into the database. So ODBC username and password, both the things. And you can see we have the variable here and all the values are passed from the record set. This is the ODBC username. This is the ODBC password. Okay. So this is done. So what will happen? It will run the query. It will give you the result. The result will be stored in a certified variable. Now, what about reporting? I need to report. I need a report which reads like that. Select user ID from users where login name is equal to admin. This is the result. So I need a report with this entire query along with the result. If there is a one row, one column, so that should be there. If there are multiple returns, so I want everything in the result. So what to do for that? I have called a process here. If you see reporting SQL query, okay. So it's the kind of utility you can say, okay, which you need to create once, and wherever you are running a query and you need to report that query in some external document or external file. So at that time you need to call this component. Now what this component does basically, first of all, every time it will be creating a file, so it will delete the file. So we will be running a VB script from here now. Okay. So we will be creating a VB script. If anybody is having any knowledge or any experience working with Java, VB script, .NET, and with the database programming, so they must be try to recollect something that we need to create some connections, we need to create some record sets, we need to write the query, we need to write a for loop there. If the query is returning multiple rows and columns, so the for loop will iterate for that many times. So those things are there. So it will create a dynamic VB script every time. So before creating a new one, we need to make sure that the existing or the old VB script, which is created by the previous run, are deleted. So that's why if you see, I am just saying delete file and from this same location, so that it is nothing. If there is nothing, it will not return anything, right? After that, we will create the VB code now, VB scripting now. So these are all the scripting here. So I will not go into this detail, the VB script and all. I will tell you what are the important things here. So these are all means some of the static things of the VB script. If you know that connection, we need to create the connection, we need to create the record set and all. What is important here is ODBC connection. So you need to create a connection. If you see, connection is created in the beginning. If you see, set CNN create object ADODB connection. It is created in the beginning, and then we are setting the connection to our database connection, means the data source name. So ODBC connection. So here the value will come as certified DSN at runtime. Then the user ID, the user ID will come as a certify, means the database user ID which we are passing from the record set. Similarly, the password will come here, the password which we are passing from the record set, and then we'll open the connection. So now you have provided all the value for the database and connections are established and it is open. Open means it is ready to take any request. You know what is the request? Request will be your SQL query. So you are creating a variable here. So dim is nothing in VB script. Dim means we are creating any variable. Okay. So we have created a variable called dim SQL. SQL is the variable. Now what this variable will hold? It will hold the SQL query. So we have SQL query, which I showed you in the beginning. We created a entire SQL query. So that query will come here. And after that we'll execute it. Okay, this query, once we execute the query, this query may return some result, may not return some result. It might return one value, it might return multiple value. So everything will be handled using the for loop here, if you see. Okay, and the output will be written in the report file. What is the report file? If you see the beginning, we created a file path, right? Report file here, dtribe reporting SQL report file underscore. This variable will have the value called underscore the process name along with the date timestamp. This is the file which is created, and then so we are done till here. We created the file, we prepared the VB script, we attached all the given parameters for the VB script, we have given the file path and all, and it is done. So till here. After that, once the query is executed and it is written in the file, the connection will be closed. If you don't close the connection, why we are closing the connection? Just a VB script thing again. If you don't close the connection, your next query will throw some error because connection is already open. It will try to create another connection, and since you are using the same data source, the connection will be open, right? So it will not perform the query. It will give some database error will come. So it will prepare this VB script here. So entire VB scripting is done. Now it will append this here. Okay, it will append data in the vbs.vbs file, means the VB script file which we have created here in the VBS code. It will append the data here. Okay, and it will prepare the path and it will run the DOS command of the VB script. Means we will run the VB script from a DOS command. That's it. It is done. Once it runs this command, it will run the query, it will write the file in the database, it will first create the file, it will write the file in the given location, if you see. Okay, so we are here, so it created already because we just clicked there, so I'm just deleting it so that it creates at runtime. After that, we have another query here, if you see. No, this is a nested query, if you see here, right? So this query, what it says, select name from table 1, means it is a table alias we have used. Select a dot name, b dot name as status. This is the format, because in the database the dates are stored in a different format, and in our report we need to show the date in a different format. So we are doing some formatting here. Okay, as a process created date from process A and result log status B, means we are running a query from two tables. Okay, we are getting some data from one table, some data from another table. So what this query will return, basically it will return the process name, process status, and the process creation date when the process is created. Okay, so this is one query, and again created where these processes are created by this username. Okay, so what is this query? This is the query. If you see, username we have stored initially, we run this query, we store the username, and now we will run this query. So here the same username which is stored by this first query, we use the same username here. So just assume some real-time scenario. You created some sales order. Now you are trying to find the delivery. So select delivery from this table where sales order is equal to the sales order you created earlier. So this is dynamic. Every time whenever you run the query, we run the process, you create a sales order and then you pass the sales order in the query. So every time it will be dynamic. If I run this query now, it give me so many results, if you see. Okay, So there are three columns basically. One is process name, one is the status of the process, and one is the process when the process is created. There are so many things. Okay. And if you see, there are 141 rows returned for this query. So same thing here again we have, and again the same process we have called reporting SQL query, so that it creates the VB script, it changes the SQL in the VB script and it runs, and then it is appending the data in the file. Now, as of now, whatever we have seen, okay. So here, if you see now, one important thing here, if you see, the first query returned one row only, one row and one column. Okay. Second query returned multiple row and multiple column. So here we have multiple rows. If I delete some of the processes from certify and run the query, my number of rows returned will be less. If I add some more columns here, my number of columns will be more here. So how to store these values in certify? So basically, if you see the action here, it is SQL to record set. Okay, means the SQL return, the SQL output will be stored in the record set. So how do we need to do that? Again, we have the same thing here, the ODBC connections and everything, and the data and the record set and layout is attached here. If I open this record set here, so it has so many data, right? So same thing. So let me delete everything from here. And then after executing it, we'll see. So all the rows from the record set is deleted. Okay, so the record set is empty now. Okay, so means all the query result will be stored in the record set. And once the value is there in the record set, then that record set you can use as an input parameter in some other component in your process. Second thing, I talked about the stored procedure, how to run. So here, if you see, there is one more action called stored procedure to record set. So stored procedure, when we create it, generally it returns so many data, right? So many rows, so many columns. It is created by writing some conditions, some if-else statements are there. So it is basically a SQL query along with some code, right? So it is created in the database. It is first created in the database also. So we don't need to go into the query, means how the stored procedure is created, what all codes are written. So we'll not get into that. Just assume that you have got a code, you have got a stored procedure, and that you need to run from certify. So simple, stored procedure name. So stored procedure will be created in database and it will be saved with a name. You will be given the name. So you just need to use the name. So my procedure name is process name. If you see here, this is the stored procedure. So I will just run it like execute process name. So it will give me all the process name. Okay, the way it is written in the process stored procedure. If you see here, there are 192 rows returned. Okay, so if I run this procedure from my certify process, it will return me 192 rows, right? So all these rows will be stored in the record set again. So here, if I open this record set, so here again, if you see, there are so many rows. So let me delete everything again. Okay, and then now we'll run it and then we'll see how it goes, and that's it. So once everything is done, now suppose I need to send my reports to some of the stakeholders. Okay, so there are, suppose one team is there. So either you can share this report manually, means you have the file created here. Okay, you can share the file later, or if you want to automate that part also, then we have certify, we can automate Outlook. Okay, so we have MS Outlook here. We can say send new email item. So how to do that? Before that, what we will do, we will create one more path. Okay, one more thing here. If you see the concatenation here, it says email value. So what is the email value? So SQL report to the for the script. So this is the email subject or the body, you can say. SQL report for the script. Process name means this business process scenario name. Okay, along with the date timestamp. So whoever will be receiving this email, they will receive it with the subject. Okay, SQL query report for the process, this one, and date and timestamp. So this you prepared up basically a kind of email thing. Email value is a variable where it is stored, and then this is used to send the email. Okay, now see, send a new email item. So here, this is my SOS ID. So I have given, if I have multiple IDs to send, so I can just add as many emails as I want. I can give, I can use semicolon to separate the different emails. If I need to copy somebody in my email, I can use CC here. I can give the email addresses here. If I need to add somebody in BCC, I can do that. Okay. Subject, this is the subject which I prepared in here. Attachment, if you see the report file, so we prepared the path. This path will take from this particular location. One XLS file will be created, and that file will be attached here at runtime with the email. Okay. And then the importance, you can say hi, the email subject, the email format, and those things you can say, you can give, and we are done. So now let's quickly run this process. Okay. I will go step by step so that I can also just narrate what is happening. So first, if you see, it is preparing the path. Okay, so path is prepared. If you see the path here, reporting SQL business scenario name underscore date timestamp dot XLS. So file path with along with the file name is prepared. It will prepare the query here. Select username where login name is equal to admin. Okay, where clause is prepared where login name is equal to admin. This query is ran. At runtime it is ran, and this value is returned and is stored in the variable. Now I am running this particular thing where we have the VB script and everything. So I'm just running it. Okay, I'm just doing step out from here. So done. This is also done. Now next query. It prepared the query here. If you see, it stored the login ID from here, and it used that login ID here. If you see in the end, created by 11 some zeros and then 41. Okay. It will execute the same process again to report it in the file. So this file is created already. It had some value from the first query. Now it will append the new value on the same file. Okay. So this is also done. Now we have SQL to record set where we are going to use this query to write all the values, means process name, status, and the creation date in the record set. This is also done. Now we are going to run the stored procedure. This is also done. Now we are going to create the path. Path is created, means the email subject body and everything is created. Now we are sending the email. So it will open the Outlook if you see. So for that, again, Outlook needs to be configured in the machine from where you are running the process. So if that machine is having your personal IDs created, configured, so it will use your ID. Or if there is any generic ID, it will use that ID to send the email. Okay. So it is taking some time to open the Outlook and all. It is asking me to set some profile. Okay. Okay, till that time it sends the email, we'll see the report. Okay, here the report is created here. This should get attached from the process. If I open this report, you will have all those queries written here. If you see the first query we have run, select user ID from users where login name equal to admin, and this is the output from the database we got. So this, it is written here. Select name, status, format, everything. This is another query. It returns so many rows here. So you can see all the data are stored in the file. Okay. So any questions I would love to answer. Shravanti, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Gautam, for such a wonderful and detailed webinar. So participants, please feel free to send your questions in the Q&A section. And we have already received some of questions. So we can start taking up them. So first one is, can we automate the DSN creation?
Yeah, this is the question which many people ask. Whoever works with Certify and with the database validations. So since DSN creation is a manual effort, so everybody wanted it to be automated. Now, why? Because if I am running the processes from my system, so I did it here manually, suppose that is done. Now, if I need to run the same process in some other machine, so in that machine also that DSN needs to be created. So if I don't know the information, if the person who is responsible to run the process on that machine doesn't have the information about how to create a data source, what are the information we need to create it, then it is a challenging for them, right? It is a dependency again on some different project member. So we can. The answer is we can, but then it is not a straightforward approach. Okay, you need to use a lot of workaround. How? So first of all, you need to open this one. So if you know the DOS command directly to open this one, you can open this one. Then you need to navigate to user DSN. Okay, because you need to make sure you what kind of data source you are creating user system. So accordingly, you need to navigate on these tabs. Then you need to click on add. Then you need to select the corresponding driver from here. Okay, then you need to fill all those details, and all these are basically Windows things. So means you need to either use Silverlight or some keystrokes. And then how reliable it is, that you know, right? If you are going with some keystrokes and all, it might work, and in real time it is so quick, so it might get passed at runtime, but the values are not entered here. So there are so many challenges. So better, these are the prerequisites. So prerequisites needs to be taken care manually rather than automating it. So I will say better create it manually.
Okay, thanks, Gautam. We have another question. What if there is a need to do 10 database validations? Can it be done in one step or in 10 steps? I think this is a good question. Gautam, you can take it up.
Yeah, so 10 database validation means if all the validations needs to be done in one table. Okay, or a query can be written if the tables are different, but still you can write some query using some joins and all. Then you can do it in one step. You can store the output in a record set, and then later on you can validate. But if you cannot join the tables, okay, if that is not at all possible, right, then you need to write 10 different steps to validate. It is just like validating simple 10 things in any application. So you cannot validate everything in one step, right? So you just either you write a nested query, okay, by joining all the tables, all the columns, and get all the outputs, expected outputs, have them in a record set, and then validate. Or you just simple write 10 select statement to validate 10 different things.
Okay. Another question has come up. Like, can we run a nested SQL query from Certify?
Yes, as far as it is a valid query, you can run. Like this is a nested query, right? This is a nested query. In fact, there are queries where we write some clauses also, if else statement also. So if you have some queries where if else statement is written, okay, suppose you run one query, suppose I run this query and I get a result. Now I am validating the result inside the query. So if the result is this, then run this query, else run this query. So if you have those kind of queries also, that also you can run. As far as it is a valid SQL, you can run. You just need to means think about these formats and all, because it is a database specific. If you need to run the same query in Oracle, so it might will not work, although the database is same, all the values are there, but it might not work because in database this format syntax and all is a database specific thing. So you need to use the correct syntax for the given database. So if you know SQL, you don't have the problem using the syntax and all.
Okay. Okay. So we will take up another question before ending today's webinar. Can we capture the screenshot of a query result from database?
Yeah, capturing query result is not possible because query, when Certify executes the query, you are not able to see it, right? Because it happens back, it means it is happening in backend. You don't see how this query is getting executed. I am doing it manually here, so I can see, but at runtime I did not see, right, how the query got executed. So you cannot capture. But that's why we use the reporting. Even if you use BPP also, or if you use the Certify inbuilt reports like summary report, detailed report, record set report, those report will also not capture the query result. Okay, because query result is something which is given by the database. It is not, it will not get captured in the means BPP or any form of report. That's why we need some explicit reporting for that. That's why the BB scripting is used inside this process here, so that all the query output, everything is written in a file, and that file we can share by different communication channels. So answer is, if you want to capture the database screenshot, so the answer is no, you cannot do that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Gautam. So participants, if you have any more questions, then you may send it us to email ID contact us at sois.com, and we will surely get back to you. And today's webinar will be available to you in 2 to 3 days time. So that is the end of today's webinar. Thanks, Gautam, and thanks to all the participants once again.
Thank you so much, Sravanti, for conducting this webinar. Thank you so much.
Welcome.